This is a baby, and this is a baby.
I went in for the audition, and according to the person who told me the story, there were babies hanging off the chandeliers and babies everywhere, and my mother brought me in, and I was playing with the dog. I'm supposed to be playing with the dog, and the dog bit me on the nose, and everybody sort of went, oh my God, lawsuit, and they panicked and freezed, and I started laughing, and they were like, she's hired! And he took one look at me and said, you're wrong for that movie, and I was sort of like, oh God, I'm in the wrong place.
When Drew came in, she had the part the minute she stepped into the room, because she began to make up these stories that she was a punk rocker. She had a punk rock band. She was going on the road. She was going to do an entire... She's 6 years old, and she told me that she's going to do a 20-city tour in America with her punk rock band. And then she kept making up stories, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger and wilder and wilder, and she just blew me away. I mean, there was no second choice. I mean, Drew Barrymore was the first choice for this part.
The final audition was for me to scream. And I broke the monitor, and that was it. I got hired, thank God. It felt very mature. I went from E.T. to that, and I went from a set of all kids to being the only kid. I remember that responsibility of E.T. and coming off that, and that was sort of when I started just getting into the responsibility and the maturity and work life. In the opening segment, I'm sitting in my dressing room, and they all come by to console me. Something's wrong. I don't even remember what that was. And they say, oh, would you like a glass of milk? And I went, I'm a Barrymore, make it a drink. I'll have a drink and make it a double. It was like having the sister I never had. And so I ended up living with this family, the Wards, and they had a son, John, who was like my older brother, and Gail and David, the mother and father. And it was like living in a true great family for the first time in my life, and it was one of the best experiences. At the time, it just seemed sort of okay. It was like, okay, this is what we're doing now. And at the time, too, when I was like 10 and 11, I felt like I was about 20, and that's exactly the time when you want to start partying. And also, because I had so many responsibilities, you tend to, at some point, want to rebel against that. I think that time in New York, I remember when I was 13, this moment where I took the stairs, and I felt like my childhood took the elevator. There was a time where I really didn't work very much. I was like a really heavy kid, and I wasn't getting that many jobs, and everything was just sort of strange and awkward, and I felt really uncomfortable in my skin. A tabloid writer had broken into the hospital I was in, and they put out this big story, and it really scared people. I felt like all of a sudden I might have had the chance to relate to people. All of a sudden my aloneness, maybe I didn't have to be so alone. Maybe other people felt alone too.
I think her respect for herself finally was the thing, you know, that people realized, my God, this person just has so much respect, self-respect.
That was sort of the end of it, to tell you the truth. That was, you know, we just went in our separate ways and had to go and live different lives, and that's okay. I think society puts a lot of pressure on you that you have to love your family, and I think you do have to love your family. It doesn't mean you have to spend all your time with them.
Whether she wanted to move out at the time or not, or whether it was the right thing to do or worked out better or not, there really was no choice at that time.
Very quietly, I worked in coffee houses, and I, you know, got an apartment, and I lived on my own, and I didn't have a car, and I would get myself to auditions, and I understood the trepidations at first, and the sort of, do you feel lucky to be here? I totally did. I got it.
She said that people would come in and ask her, you know, for this, that, and the other, and she just really wouldn't have a clue what they were talking about. She just sort of make them some concoction, I think, of maybe even her own choosing.
Yeah, I thought she was just like hanging out there
Smoking
with friends
cigarettes
or something. I didn't know she actually had a job there.
And eventually, word gets around town that you're doing well, you're doing good on your auditions. That led to another audition, and that audition led to someone talking to another person who was doing a low-budget film called Poison Ivy. And that was my first film back. We all have to experience a few things in life that are so strangely painful. And that was one for me. And the important thing is if you have to go through hell, and literal hell, I hope that you come out of it having learned something. And I really did. And that is absolutely my redemption in that experience. I'm glad that I'll be older one day and looking back at things with fondness instead of going, oh, I just missed that boat. I didn't get to do that. I mean, that's like every person's fantasy, is to dress up and put on makeup and hair and model. I mean, we all do it in front of the mirror. At least I admit it, I do. That was the greatest thing that has ever happened in my life, was getting to work with Woody Allen. I couldn't believe every time he walked through the door. It was like a dream. Yeah. I thought people would like that movie. I really did. I thought people would like it because I just liked it so much. I read the script and I just thought this movie is really fun. It's great because it's about being in charge of your own life and in charge of your own destiny and trying to make things happen and making it a good experience, working with good people, trying to develop good material. I knew that she always wanted me to do this because she allowed me to do it from the time I was 11 months old when I did that Gainsburger Puppy Chow commercial. And I know she got scrutinized a lot when I was younger for having me and acting so young, but the truth is, if she hadn't done that, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair right now doing this interview. So in some saintly way, she gave me my life, and I appreciate that very much.